The Quarterly, Lamentations, Songs, Ecclesiastes. Lesson 5, Songs 115 to 217, The Power and Patience of Love. It's typical of love to describe the beloved in extravagant, almost embarrassing language. We're often told that love is more than a feeling, and indeed it is. But the love described in the song is never less than an overwhelming feeling. Both lovers are enamored with the other, though it's striking that their praise of their true love is not interchangeable. Men and women are equal before God, but not identical, and so their idealized attributes are not the same. Of course, those overpowering feelings of love can be problematic, especially prior to marriage when they cannot be acted upon fully. The central feature of the song is the marriage and the consummation of the relationship in chapter 4, prior to which sexual desires need to be restrained. This is not because of prudishness or legalism, but a recognition that sex prior to marriage has a destructive impact on the relationship. Waiting for the right time is a vital, though challenging, part of the courtship process, which leads to the repeated refrain in the song urging the daughters of Jerusalem to wait to stir up love until the right time. Song 2:7, 3:5, and 8:4. No human couple completely encapsulates the extravagant love that the song describes, though we should strive to love and honor our spouses in that way. Only God loves like that, demonstrating a powerful and undeserved passion for his people. Meanwhile, the anticipation that fills engaged couples as they await their wedding day should model for us the eagerness with which we appear the awaiting of Jesus Christ for the wedding feast of the Lamb. The dialogue here shows us a couple who are completely enraptured with each other. "Wow, you are beautiful," will be a literal translation of the Hebrew. Yet their attention is each focused on different things. He is captured by her eyes, which he compares to doves, chapter 1, verse 15. Gazing into someone's eyes is one of the most powerfully personal and intimate experiences that there is. When the woman describes their bed as being green, that's how the ESV translates it in verse 16, she's not describing the color of her sheets. Rather, she means that it is verdant, that is, growing prolifically like a lush garden. Likewise, when she describes their house as having been constructed out of cedars and pine trees in verse 17, she's using a metaphor to speak of having a large and enduring family, built out of solid and lasting materials. Like most ancient Near Eastern women, she's excited about bearing his children. Rather self-deprecatingly, the woman calls herself just a wildflower of Sharon, an ordinary lily among the thousands that dot the valleys. Chapter 2, verse 1. The traditional English translation, which calls her a rose of Sharon, for example in the ESV, is not supported by the Hebrew, which elsewhere uses this word to refer to a common desert wildflower, perhaps an asphodel or a crocus. See Isaiah 35:1. The man responds by turning her description on its head. She may be a lily, but she's not just one lily among many other lilies. Rather, she is a lily among thorns, chapter 2, verse 2, a unique beauty in a world of ugly and unproductive weeds. The woman returns the compliment by calling the man an apple tree among the trees of the forest, verse 3. He's uniquely attractive in a world of men that to her are otherwise all the same. She unfolds the comparison in terms of two specific attributes. She delights to sit in his shade and eat his fruit, which is a poetic way of declaring that she revels in his protection and his provision for her. Finally, the woman pictures the two of them in a house of wine, where she sits under his banner of love, verse 4. On one level, a house of wine is simply a private place where the man and the woman can feast and enjoy intimacy together. On another level, it evokes the earlier metaphor that the woman used when she described his kisses and caresses as better than wine. Chapter 1, verse 2. Banners in the Old Testament were clan and military markers. She's left her parental clan and now joyfully places herself under her beloved's banner, submitting herself to his authority. Yet her submission is not a chore or an enforced and resentful act, for to be in his presence is a feast, and his banner of authority is emblazoned with his love for her. While the consummation of their feast is so eagerly desired, it is as yet only a future dream. She longs for the day when his left hand will be under her head, and his right hand will embrace her, verse 6. Until that day of consummation and satisfaction comes, she is weak and sick with love, verse 5. The ESV, like many translations, makes it sound like a present reality. But in ancient Near Eastern love poetry, people are never lovesick in the presence of their beloved, only in their absence. Here, the woman needs to lie down and be nourished in the meantime with apples and raisin cakes, sweet and celebratory foods that will sustain her until the day when their love can finally be consummated. Out of her experience of the crazy joy and heart-rending frustration of love, the woman speaks words of counsel to the daughters of Jerusalem, charging them on oath not to stir up or arouse love until its proper time, verse 7. This refrain recurs twice more in the song, in chapter 3, verse 5, and chapter 8, verse 4, marking it out as an important part of the song's message. There is a proper time for love and sexual passion, but until that proper time comes, it's something to wait for, not to rush into. The second half of chapter 2 shows us that principle of waiting in action. The man bounds up to the window of her house like a young stag, urging her, in some of the most beautiful poetry of the song, to join him on the other side of the wall. The winter rainy season has come and gone. The seasonal spring rains are also over. Everything is bursting into bloom, verses 11 and 12. Surely it's time to consummate their relationship. But she says, no, or at least, not yet. The woman develops the young man's springtime metaphor in a different direction, by reminding him of the danger that foxes posed to blooming vineyards during that season. Verse 15. Remember, she says, that the tender new growth of blossoming vineyards is fragile and can easily be damaged. In spite of the woman's refusal to cross the wall and be with him at this time, she doesn't denigrate his desires. She still declares that her lover is hers and she is his, depicting him once more as a gazelle grazing amongst the lilies, verse 16. She too longs for the day when the wall will come down and all barriers between them will be gone, so that she can fully be his and he can fully be hers forever. Yet in spite of that ongoing, aching desire, she acknowledges that the time is not yet right. Until the day comes to life and the shadows flee away, that is, until the morning has fully come, he will have to leave alone. For now, her young stag will have to go back to the mountains from whence he came, to the mountains of Bether, which literally means the cleft mountains in verse 17. There's an obvious connection here to her breasts, a link that will be made explicit later in the song. Even while she sends her man away for the time being, the name of the range of mountains upon which this gazelle is going to roam will remind both of them of the destination toward which they are ultimately headed. Her no is a not quite yet, my love, rather than a never. The image of protecting the delicate blossoms of the vineyard is a powerful way of describing the reason for refraining from premarital sexual intercourse. Often Christians focus on defining a set of rules of what people may and may not do. These are like the wall around the vineyard. They have an important place, but they're not the most important thing. There is more to cultivating a healthy vineyard than merely keeping the walls intact. What this poem in the Song of Songs gives us is not a rule so much as a reason. In the face of springtime hormones that are crying out with every fiber of our being that now is the time to be fruitful and multiply, the song reminds us that those pesky little foxes cause very real damage and get in the way of the ultimate goal of the vineyard, which is to bear rich fruit. The farmer who invests energy in protecting the integrity of their vineyard will not regret it later, even though he or she won't reap the benefits of this painful perseverance until the time is fully ripe. Application questions. 1. Why is it important to know that God made men and women interdependent but not interchangeable? 2. Why is premarital sex destructive and harmful? 3. Why are reasons better than rules? 4. How is the gospel good news for those who have damaged vineyards?